morning, Miramar, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Tamara G. Don't forget, you can check us out on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at City of Miramar. We all know it's right here in Miramar, and right here with me now, we have psychologist Dr. Carmen Hara. She is going to be here talking about her new book. It's called Committed: Finding Love and Loyalty Through the 7 Archetypes, and it's co-authored by Alexandra Hara. They go into detail about the 7 personality types and unpack the relationship challenges that come with each one. So welcome to the show, Dr. Hara.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So I'm excited because when I read this, I said, oh my gosh, this could be the answer to my questions and everybody else's questions. Did not even know that there were 7 personality types. So let's just get right into it. What are those 7 types?
So, the concept of archetype goes back to thousands of years ago to the Greek philosopher Plato. And then the idea was integrated in the field of psychology by Carl Jung. So when I did counseling to people, I realized that people kind of act the same way and behave the same way. So some people cheat, some people lie, some people are fair, some people are honest, people behave differently. And then I said, let me define what archetype, let me define the 7 major archetypes so it can help you understand who you are, because you going through the book, it helps you identify your own archetype, and also make sure that you understand who is your match, because a specific archetype matches a certain archetype. So let's say Trump, talking about archetype, who's a narcissist, he had to be with another narcissist because no other archetype will actually stay with Trump. That's why he divorced so many times, had so many girlfriends. So in other words, so a wounded warrior like Biden, you know what I mean? He had to have a hopeless romantic like his wife in order to be a match. But so I define, so let me go through the archetypes so everybody understands what they're all about and how significant it is to understand the power behind, because it's so like the book is like a psychological analysis of what archetypes are. It makes you understand how you act, how you behave. And sometimes, it's possible that you are a certain archetype, but you have characteristics that come from other archetypes. So I'm going to say the 7 archetypes are the independent, the workaholic, the narcissist, the free spirit, the hopeless romantic, the wounded warrior, and the introvert. And then there is the 8th archetype, which is the ideal that we all want to be ideal. We all want to be perfect in a relationship. So that's called the well-rounded one. So I'm gonna go through. Yeah. So,
I love that.
Yeah. we want to get there. We want to be perfect in a relationship. We want to have fulfilling and wonderful relationships. But one of the reasons we don't succeed in relationships is because of our behavior. Something that is that exists within ourselves in patterns of behavior, and these characteristics are defined by archetypes. Now I can go through them if you want me to go through.
Absolutely. Let's start with independent. Let's do that.
Independent is somebody who struggles more than any other archetype with attaching, because commitment means giving yourself to somebody else. Now, an independent doesn't want to give himself to anyone else. The independence is totally detached. He cherishes independence more than anything else. So he has fear that bringing a partner in will compromise that freedom. That is everything for him. So that's one of the reasons that an independent will continue to be independent. And that's why we see people in their 60s, 70s, never been married, and they're very okay the way they are, because they cannot commit because of their belief that independence, being free is everything and it matters more than anything else.
Okay, so let me ask this question.
Yes.
So who would be a good match for an independent? Would another independent be a good?
They can match up to a certain degree, but they will live a life in which they will hardly communicate. You know what I mean? So who would be a great match for an independent would be a hopeless romantic. The hopeless romantic is in love with love, and he will love an independent no matter what, you know. Even
Okay.
if he doesn't pay attention to him, he will continue to love him, you know. You
All
will
right.
be on the path of love no matter what, you know.
Okay.
So but usually the problem with the independent is that he ends up alone. So that's what I'm saying. So many cases of people that you see being lonely and isolated and feeling okay, you know, to be on their own. They're not desperate to get married. They don't really feel a need to be involved in a serious relationship. And we see people like this.
Right.
And more than ever, if you look at the young generation, you actually look at the young generation not so desperate to get married. They are open to multiple relationships. Sometimes they talk about open marriage. You know, I'm not going to get married like my parents, my grandparents, because they divorced. They went through a hard time, and I witnessed that. So consequently, the young generation is a generation where you do see a lot of independent people
Okay. Now,
out there.
what about the workaholic?
Now, the workaholic is completely different. He wants to have both worlds. So he wants to, his love is, work is everything. But on the same token, he would love to have a partner. But if he's supposed to choose, he will choose his work. If his partner becomes domineering and becomes controlling and start to interfere with his work and start to put question, why I'm not home at 6 o'clock? Why did you stay longer? You know, he will go in the end for a divorce because work is way more significant than partnership.
Wow. Okay.
But he's the kind of a guy that wants to have that life, you know, both worlds,
Okay.
both
Both
ways, if
worlds.
possible. If he can have a wonderful partner that doesn't interfere with his work, then everything is perfect.
Now, what would a narcissist, or I'm sorry, not a narcissist, we're not to the narcissist yet. Who would a workaholic be best suited with?
Workaholic can get also along with the wounded warrior, can get along with the hopeless romantic, can get sometime a workaholic can get along with the independent because he has time to work and he doesn't care the other one is not paying too much attention to him. So they kind of live in two separate worlds, but they okay with that, you know. It doesn't bother them, you know. They just meet from time to time and they have friends. Nobody's jealous here. Nobody has excessive emotion because everybody has a different priority, you know.
Oh.
So it's just so interesting. You see, though, sometimes you see this in the world of celebrities that are so crazy about their own work and how they don't have time to build a family. And you see how they fail. You always question why this person who's so beautiful, so famous, so why do they go through marriage after marriage? We have millions of examples of all the famous people out there, have all the money in the world, the fame, the beauty, and yet they cannot build a solid relationship. Very rarely you see relationship that survive the test of time in Hollywood, you know.
Right. So let me tell you, the folks, if you're just now tuning in, we are speaking with Dr. Carmen Hara. She has written a new book called Committed: Finding Love and Loyalty Through the 7 Archetypes. She co-authored it with Alexandra Hara, and they go into detail about the 7 personality types and unpack the relationship challenges that come with each of them. So now we've done independent, we've done the workaholic, the narcissist is up next. Tell us a little about that
the
first.
narcissist? So I made it very simple, the simplest way so everybody can understand. But if you read the book, of course, the book goes in depth, gives them millions of examples, but I'm making it so simple that everybody listening just gets it, you know. So okay, so this is who I might be. So, but as I said, sometimes, you know, when a certain archetype has characteristics from other archetypes, but the narcissist is he has such an ego, such a selfish inclination that can make him so emotionally superficial that he doesn't even have time for anyone else. And if you go back to Trump, because that's the malignant narcissist that America witnessed for 4 years while he was in power, and we all question why did he treat Melania like this? He left her on the side. He didn't take her by the hand. He ignored her. He didn't care what she thinks, what she said. The only reason because the world was about him. There was no place in his world other than himself.
And you're
So
speaking as a psychologist watching
yeah,
this.
psychologically, and I think any psychologist analyzing him uh, will define him the same way. And that's one of the reasons why somebody who's such a malignant narcissist cannot be in a position of power. Because to be in a position of power, you have to have a heart for the people around you. The world is not you, you know. So, and the reason that a narcissist is not really getting along with any of these other archetypes, because he's not understanding anyone else. He only understands his own self. But another narcissist who thinks the same way will get it, and they will make a couple. Yeah, and they will survive together. In a way, living separate lives, but because they center the perception of the world through themselves, they can actually create a so-called family or a couple, or you know. So this is when a narcissist only gets along with another narcissist, and
So
no one else.
okay, so next up is the free spirit.
Free spirit is so in love with his hobbies and with his uh, independence, but in a different way. He sometimes is irrational in his behavior. He wants to commit. He wants to make things. He wants to settle down. He wants to have a family, but he's scared. He's afraid. What if he's losing? And he sends mixed messages. An independent. That's why if you get involved with an independent, what you're gonna see is that the independent will give you mixed messages. Today he will tell you, let's do this, let's get married. 2 days later, he will change his mind. He will say, well, I don't think I can do this anymore. So the free spirit can actually get along sometime with an independent. He definitely gets along with a hopeless romantic. He gets along with a wounded warrior, because those are souls who will take him for who he is. But the free spirit, he can execute. You know, he's very authentic in his own way, and it's all about his own authentic self. So he acts on his authentic self. But freedom is everything for him too. And I'm going to go now next to the hopeless romantic, who's somebody in love with love. And usually hopeless romantic makes a lot of mistakes in love, because he is so in such a need, such a desperate need to be in love, that he will actually attract the wrong people in his life. And sometimes he does attract the independent who's going to ignore him, or sometimes he attracts the narcissist, and then the hopeless romantic will suffer. So he throw himself blindly in relationship without thinking of the consequences, because he's in love with the idea of love, you know. So
but who would be the hopeless romantic's best
would be another hopeless romantic. Imagine two hopeless romantic. Oh my God, they will be kissing each other every second. They will be really like
maybe we don't want to see that.
Everything is beautiful. Oh, I love you.
Oh, wow.
That's the ideal scenario. And then I'm going to the wounded warrior, and I found that Biden talking about people who are in politics, and we see them every day out there. Think of him that he lost his child and he's lost his wife. He was in his 20s. Those traumas that you can never recover for the rest of your life. Right. And somebody who's been so wounded, he has a very hard time healing. He will try to heal forever, but he'll probably never heal. And he has a turmoil inside himself, and he has a lot of empathy, and he has a lot of suffering. And that's why I think it's so fascinating. After a narcissist, America chose a wounded warrior. So after somebody who was all about himself, you know, and had no respect for nobody, attacking and insulting, then we have a man in power who cares, who cries when somebody has a problem, you know. So he has so much empathy, completely the opposite from what we had before. So we went and choose something to the other pole, to the other extreme. But, you know, it's interesting that a wounded warrior hides his pain. he puts that mask, making people believe that everything is fine, but that suffering is there. And it takes a second for the suffering, something to trigger the suffering, for the suffering to come to the surface. So if you ever see Biden on TV meeting someone else who lost his child, that will trigger his pain. So immediately, you know what I mean? In a conscious or subconscious way, he will start shaking and will start that pain will be brought to the surface and he will feel it again. So that's why he can cry right away and suffer immediately. Yeah.
So then who would he, Dr. Hara, be most compatible with?
He's
Because as a
compatible
wounded
with the whole
warrior,
romantic. He's compatible with another wounded warrior because they will talk the same language. They will understand each other.
Okay.
That's the way it really works. And all of them are actually compatible with the well-rounded one, with the ideal person that can heal. Because all of this archetype, they incomplete, they need healing, they need support, they need help, they need to understand what's wrong with them. The problem is that many of them, they don't actually acknowledge their own archetypes. I wrote a book because I said probably a lot of the people out there reading this book will say, aha, I never thought this way about me, but yeah, this may actually make sense. I never thought this trauma would make me react this way. But yeah, it does sense, and then it makes sense. And then you start to look at the people who you brought into your life, and you see your own action and what you attract and what you brought in from a different perspective. And when you see and understand that you can change things, when you become aware, you have the possibility of change. And change is everything.
Well, speaking of change, the last person would be the introvert.
The introvert is somebody who has, and here what is very interesting about the introvert. The introvert struggles with intimacy, with physical intimacy. And sometimes, his problem go back to the childhood. It goes back to what happened in his upbringing, what he saw in his family. Probably, his mother was abused, probably one of the parents cheated, left, or he was abused. So the introvert has a hard time communicating. With the introvert, you speak and you speak to the wall. He's not gonna get it, or he doesn't respond like he gets it, So it's just very difficult, the communication with an introvert, and he will continue to be an introvert. People that are introvert are very hard to break that wall, that is like a wall in front of them that doesn't allow them to shift the perception or to open up. So opening up to the possibility of being loved and being a communicator is not too much there for an introvert.
Wow. So if you're just tuning in, we're speaking with Dr. Carmen Hara. She's written a new book, co-authored this book called Committed: Finding Love and Loyalty Through the 7 Archetypes. She just went through them. The independent, the workaholic, the narcissist, the free spirit, the introvert, the hopeless romantic, and the wounded warrior. And then, just for good measure, number 8 is the well-rounded person, the person who could be with any of these people.
Yes.
Are you finding, though, through your research for doing this book, that sometimes people really are they could be a combination of all 7 of these?
Exactly. That's what I said from the beginning, that it's very possible that you read this and you say, well, I have a little bit of introvert in me, but I also have a little bit of hopeless romantic in me. Very possible, very possible. I mentioned this very clearly in the book. But the book is in depth psychologically analyzing the behavior pattern and how you express yourself and how you communicate and how you reach the conclusion of what kind of an archetype you belong to. And the reason I wrote this book with Alexandra, because she's the 30-year-old generation. I said, I'm going to bring the perspective that the young generation and the perspective of my generation, because this concept of commitment is so different from a generation to another. If you look at our grandparents, grandparents, and us and our children, we do see there's a different way, to understand commitment. And a lot of people get involved believing that commitment will come later, but then it never comes. but actually commitment is the glue that keeps two people together. Exactly like the emotional intimacy. People think, oh, we have physical intimacy, then everything is going to be great. Well, guess what? That might go away. And if we don't have emotional intimacy, the relationship will really fall apart very quickly. Right. So then the book teaches people to build beyond anything else communication, build emotional intimacy, because that will really make your relationship get better in time. And then 30 years later or 40 years later, you can say, yes, we love each other more than at the very beginning because we got to know each other. We understand each other's behavior, we understand each other's archetype, and we meld together. We create a oneness, a totality, and that's what relationships are all about. So I'm trying to give that old wisdom, those simple secrets of how to make a relationship survive the test of time and bring that joy and happiness to a couple.
I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that you say too, that readers have to find themselves first. You have to know who you are before you can be in a relationship with anybody. And that's not just romantic. That's your friends, your coworkers, people at your church. You have to know.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. So that's what the book shows you. Okay, archetypes is not even when it comes to romance, but look at the people around you, from your parents to your kids, as you said, to the people in church, to your neighbors, this is the way that helps you understand the way they manifest, the way they handle things, the way they speak to you, the way they handle their own lives. So that's key, to comprehending human behavior.
I love it. The name of the book is Committed: Finding Love and Loyalty Through the 7 Archetypes. Where can people find it, Dr. Hara? Where can they find the book?
Anywhere. This is in every bookstore. Of course, at Amazon, everybody buys everything from Amazon. So the book is everywhere. Any bookstores, you can find it. Get it from Amazon. It's existing Kindle in all the formats, the paperback, the cover, back cover. So yeah, you can find it everywhere.
I love it. All right, folks, if you've been out there and you have been trying to figure out why this relationship didn't work, why the one before that didn't work, then maybe you can find out who you are and which type would be best with you. Doesn't mean that it's an exact science, but I think Dr. Hara has done the hard work for you. You can't be an independent and be with someone who's a narcissist. She's already said it doesn't work, or vice versa, or any of the others. But she will let you know that in the book. Again, it's called Committed: Finding Love and Loyalty Through the 7 Archetypes. You can find it anywhere books are sold, of course, online, Kindle form, however you want to get it, but you need to get it today. Thank you so much, Dr. Carmen Hara. We certainly appreciate it, and good luck with the book.
Oh, my book, you're so amazing. I send you all my love and all my gratitude, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for watching Good Morning Miramar. Until next time, I'm Tamara G.